Okay, it looks like we are live. Just check Facebook real quick. Okay, we are good. Awesome. All right, I've got some people joining us. Good morning, Dave. Thank you for joining us this morning. I will go ahead and get started with just some announcements, and then we'll get started. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to another City Updates live broadcast. I'm Jamie Chavez. I'm the President and CEO of the Westminster Chamber of Commerce. We are thrilled to have you with us today. As always, we're here to bring you the latest insights straight from City Hall, featuring conversation with councilors, mayor pro tem, and other city leaders that we are adding to the mix. So that's very exciting, and it is your backstage pass to what's happening in Westminster. If this is the first time that you're joining us, a special welcome to you. Thank you for being here. And for Facebook viewers, be sure to like and follow this page for future notifications for when we go live. And if you're on YouTube, you can hit subscribe and explore all of our previous broadcasts there as well. Mondays on the broadcast are all about city updates. On Wednesdays, we offer a chance to meet some of the newest members of the Chamber of Commerce and learn about their businesses. So I encourage you to join us for those as well. And also on the last Friday of the month, we feature Jefferson County Commissioner Tracy Kraft-Tharp. So stay tuned for that broadcast for broader county matters. As always, as you watch this broadcast this morning, please feel free to engage with us. Don't be shy. Drop any comments, ask any questions, and we will get to those during the interview. And now finally, a warm welcome to Fire Chief Erik Birk. How are you this morning?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. This is your first time on the broadcast. I'm pleased that you've decided to spend some time on your Monday with us.
Absolutely, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm honored to be here.
Yeah, and good morning, Brian Head. Thanks for joining. All right, well, I was hearing some stories about you and your family this weekend. You apparently have a legacy in Westminster, so maybe you can start off by telling us a little bit about that.
Sure, absolutely. So again, my name is Erik Birk, and I'm the acting fire chief of the Westminster Fire Department. Just a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in the Westminster community. I grew up around 106th and Holland, so I went to Wood Elementary and Mandalay Junior High and Stanley Lake High School, and I went to college in Colorado. And so during the summers, I worked back here at Parks and Rec as a seasonal employee. And my last 8 weeks of college, I was hired here with the Westminster Fire Department, and have been here almost 23 years now. So just an honor to be able to serve the community which I grew up in, and this is the only place that I wanted to work. And as you mentioned, Jamie, I have had other relatives that have worked here. My father was a retired police chief for the Westminster Police Department. He served for 41 years here at Westminster and 7 years as police chief. My wife also worked for the city attorney's office, and she did 22 years here at Westminster. So quite a significant amount of years of service to the community of Westminster.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I saw Doug Hall, I think, on a Friday evening. And so he, former Fire Chief Doug Hall, and so he was telling me about your father. And yeah, so that's, you're about as Colorado native as it gets.
Oh, yes.
Awesome. Well, what do you have to share with us today?
Again, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. There's a few items that I was hoping to review, and also ask for your assistance. And as far as an employee, community safety item. And so I'm going to go ahead and start a PowerPoint if I can bring that up, and just let me know if there are any questions.
Sure, absolutely. Just in case you didn't see it before you were bringing up your PowerPoint, Brian Head says, very cool for one family to have that much service time in our community.
Yes, thank you, Brian. All right. Jamie, can you see my screen now? Is that PowerPoint up?
Yes, and I'm going to just double check to make sure. Yep, looks great.
All right. Well, great. So a few things that I wanted to talk about as far as the Westminster Fire Department, and there are two achievements that I really want to highlight for this group and the community. We have an insurance services office Class 1 rating, which is the highest rating that a fire department can attain. And this is very important for our community and for our business community. The higher the rating, as in Class 1 being highest, helps reduce the cost of commercial insurance, which is very important to our business community. We first became an accredited agency, ISO 1 about 5 years ago, and we've worked very hard to maintain that Class 1 rating. We'll continue to work hard to maintain it in the future. We are also an accredited agency with the Commission on Fire Accreditation International, and that is a subsection of the Commission of Public Safety Excellence. And there are 30,000 fire departments in the United States. And in the US and Canada, there are only 320 accredited agencies. And as far as all those agencies, again, 30,000 in the fire department plus Canada, there are only 119 fire departments that have a Class 1 rating and are accredited. And Westminster is one of those 119. So pretty significant achievements. We're very proud of these accomplishments, and we hope the community can take some pride in the fire department as well based on these achievements.
Yeah, that's amazing.
A few things to cover here is the Westminster Fire Department. We are an all hazards full service fire department. And when I say an all hazards full service fire department, what I mean by that is we provide services beyond what you would just expect from fire suppression that any fire department would provide. We provide emergency medical care. All of our firefighters are at the minimum an emergency medical technician, and we are the ambulance service provider for the city of Westminster. We have 5 full-time ambulances that are, again, available 24/7, 365, and those are staffed with paramedics who are trained in advanced life support services. We also have wildland firefighting. All of our firefighters are trained in basic wildland firefighting, and we also have a specialty team of 21 individuals who have additional training and certification that allow them to deploy to large fires within the state as well as across the country. We have a technical rescue team. That technical rescue team can provide a wide array of services: high angle and low angle rope rescue, trench collapse. They also do confined space, heavy vehicle extrication, and many other technical related services. We have a hazardous materials team, and we are part of the Jefferson County Adams Jeffco Hazmat Consortium, and we provide hazardous materials response through that team, which is again part of Adams County and Jeffco. We also have a swift water dive rescue team, and so we have a wide variety of water rescue services here. In this immediate area around us, there are only 2 teams that provide, or 2 departments that provide water rescue, Westminster being one, and then we also have Thornton Fire Department that can provide some water rescue and dive rescue as well. So we are used here in Westminster, but frequently called out to assist other communities as well. We have members who are part of Urban Surge and Rescue, and that is the team that is associated with FEMA. And I'll talk a little bit about the hurricanes here. But Urban Search and Rescue members, the Westminster Fire Department, will deploy across the country for tornadoes, natural disasters such as hurricanes, and provide assistance to those communities. We also have an emergency preparedness program, and that helps us prepare the community for emergency incidents as well as our own organization. We work hard to establish continuity of operations plans, and that is if we were to lose critical infrastructure, whether that be IT, water, or other critical infrastructure, that we have plans in place that we can put into motion and continue to operate and provide services to the community. We have a fire prevention bureau, and they provide education for fire safety, but they also do technical plan review. And so any development within the city of Westminster, any significant remodel to a business, we have members who will do that technical plan review to make sure that those developments or renovations are in code compliance. And we also have members that do the annual code compliance inspections at local businesses.
Great. I'm going to stop you just for a second. Just so everybody knows, Chief Birk cannot see the questions while he's got his presentation going, so I'm going to just interrupt him when we've got one. This is a comment, Brian Head says, I understand that our water rescue team even helped to transport first responders to fight the recent wildfire up north.
Yes, that is accurate, and thank you for that lead-in. That's something I was going to talk about here in just a moment.
Awesome.
So wildfire deployments. I mentioned before that all of our firefighters are trained in wildland firefighting, but then we have that specialty team that deploys across the country. As Brian mentioned, our first deployment in 2024 was to the Interlaken fire, which is near Leadville. So what we deployed to that fire was not our wildland team per se, but it was actually 2 Westminster Water Rescue members and 2 water rescue boats. That fire was located on an area that was only accessible via the lake. And so there was some challenges getting the wildland firefighters to the actual fire. So for a number of days, our dive rescue team with the 2 boats were shuttling wildland firefighters across the lake so they could access the fire, and then bringing firefighters back. A lot of shuttling of equipment to help those firefighters conduct those suppression operations. So that was definitely a unique deployment for us. We have not deployed a dive team to a wildland fire before. It was part of the state's new mutual aid system, and we were one of the first deployments under that new system. We also have deployed a 3-person team and a wildland truck to the Sequoia National Forest in California. All of these wildland deployments are typically 14 days in duration, but can be extended up to 21 days. We also had a local deployment to the Stone Canyon fire, which is in the Lyons area. In this fire, we had 4 members deployed, and the primary job responsibility was structure protection. And so their job was to help extinguish flames before they reach the homes, remove materials around the home, remove vegetation around the home, to at least guide the fire past the homes and save as many properties as possible. We have a member of our fire department who is part of the Rocky Mountain Incident Management Team, has a great deal of experience in emergency management and incident management. So he's part of this regional team that can deploy across the country. And he deployed to the Orr Fire in Oregon to help run operations for a large fire, which could be hundreds, if not 1,000 of firefighters on the scene. We also had deployment to the Bulldog Complex fire in Idaho and the Wapiti fire in Idaho. What's interesting on the Wapiti fire deployment is this was a single resource deployment. It was just one of our fire lieutenants, and he has extensive experience in GIS, mapping, and structure protection. And so he will actually deploy ahead of the fire, camp out in the environment on his own, and assess where the fire will go in the future if the fire continues to burn for 3 days, 6 days, 9 days. And he sends that information back to Incident Command, and they determine their operational policies based on the forward projection that he sees on this fire.
So you have a very wide reach. And Dave Carpenter says, I saw the Interlaken burn scar a few weeks ago when I was hiking. Thanks for sending our water team up there to help fight that wildfire.
All right, so I mentioned before about urban search and rescue, and I mentioned a little bit about our members that are part of the Rocky Mountain Incident Management Team. So we have not deployed our USAR members to the hurricane as of yet. They are on a roster, and they are part of Colorado Task Force 1. And so they're eligible this month if there's an additional deployments, and we know that there's another hurricane trending towards Florida. So they may be deployed as part of the team. But we did have one member, again, part of the Rocky Mountain Incident Management Team, who deployed to North Carolina last week. This individual has deployed to previous hurricanes in North Carolina, previous flooding events, and he's serving as an operations section chief. And as the operations section chief, he will develop and implement plans related to search, rescue, community stabilization, and other disaster response activities.
That's great.
As I mentioned before, there was something that I was hoping to get your assistance with, and it relates to emergency notifications. The City of Westminster utilizes a software program known as Lookout Alert to provide emergency notifications to the community. However, when we've analyzed our participation within the community, we see that only 22% of our community is actually registered for Lookout Alert. And Lookout Alert is different between Reverse 911. Reverse 911 works for your home and your landline. So if you're at your home and there's an emergency incident like a wildfire type event and we need to notify you, that information could go to Reverse 911 to the landline. But I know a lot of people don't have landline phones anymore. They rely on a cell phone. And if you're away from your home, if you're on a walk, if you're at the store, if you're at work, that reverse 911 would not notify you of the incident because, again, it's tied to a landline. Lookout alert would go to your cell phone and any other means of communication, text, email, any other phones that you would like to receive emergency notifications on, but you have to register for it. And so we need the community to go to our website and under emergency notifications, sign up for Lookout Alert.
I've linked it for you too, just so you know.
Thank you very much. Again, this is critical. As I said before, about 22% of our community has registered for this. And I've given a lot of thought about the business community when I talk about Lookout Alert, because not all of the employees live in Westminster, but we want those employees to be able to receive critical emergency alerts while they're at work. And so I was hoping to ask the business community's assistance in educating their employees about Lookout Alert, encouraging them to sign up. That way, when they're in our community and when they're at work, if there's a critical incident such as a Marshall Fire type event, that they would receive that notification. We know the lack of a sign up for emergency notifications is an issue in emergency response and operations because this played out during the Marshall Fire. Many community members that were impacted by the Marshall Fire had not signed up for the emergency notification system that was utilized. And so they did not know that there was that fast moving wildfire. Many of them did not know until the flames were in their backyard. At Westminster, we had an area of our community that was in a pre-evacuation area and ultimately into a mandatory evacuation area. And I was in our dispatch center during that time, and we had a lot of 911 calls to our dispatch center asking us how to sign up for Lookout Alert. The best time to sign up is obviously before the emergency, not to sign up during the emergency. Really hamper just in fact the software going to let restrain. So again, this is something I was hoping to speak to you on and really ask for your assistance and how helping neighbors, friends, and
I lost you there for a second. Do we have you back? I still see you. Are you on? I think we've got you.
I can hear you.
Yeah, it could be internet problems that happen sometimes, but it usually clears up pretty quickly. I think we've got you back. Are you there? We'll give it a minute.
I hear you.
All right, I think Chief Birk is trying to get back on, so we'll give him a minute. I know he's got a few more things that he wanted to chat with us about. There we go.
Yes, my apologies, lost you for a moment.
That's okay. We're back.
So yes, those are the items I was hoping to review with you today. I don't know if there's any other questions on that PowerPoint.
We did get one question from Dave. I think you can see that now since it's since your PowerPoint's down. But when you deploy our firefighters to these far off locations, who funds their travel and utilization, and does the department get reimbursed? Yeah,
David, thank you for the question. These deployments are very beneficial for our organization and community. When we deploy our firefighters, they go out and help communities in need, and they gain valuable experience that helps them provide services here locally at Westminster. The great thing about that as well is that the costs associated with these deployments, federal, state deployments, are reimbursed to the city of Westminster. So if it's a state-controlled fire or a federal fire, Westminster gets reimbursed for all of the associated costs. So again, there's no cost to the community here. The community is able to have firefighters get valuable experience, come back, that they could provide that expertise and knowledge here at Westminster. But again, there are no costs associated with the deployment from the city of Westminster.
Great. Thank you. All right. Feel free to ask any other questions you have. I know that you have a ballot measure coming up that you might want to speak to. I know that you're limited in what you can say, but if you'd like to get some information about that out.
Yes, thank you. We do have a ballot measure in this year's election, and it's ballot measure 3C. As you said, I'm limited in what I can share on the ballot measure, but I do have a flyer that I can review here with the group. And then also, I would encourage you to go to the city's website to get more information. So, just bringing up the flyer here in a moment.
No problem. Maybe while that's pulling up, you can, oh wait, no, I see it. There we go.
All right. So ballot measure 3C is funding for the Westminster Fire Department. It's a local ballot question that requires Westminster residents' approval on the November 2024 ballot. There's a 0.5% sales tax on purchases to provide approximately $19 million per year in funding. All funding is strictly dedicated to support the Westminster Fire Department. 3C provides for hiring approximately 45 firefighters and paramedics, building 2 new fire stations and a training facility, modernizing 3 existing stations, investing in state-of-the-art firefighting equipment. Some of the questions here in the flyer is why now? Increasing emergency calls. Westminster Fire had a 37% increase in calls from 2020 to 2023 and is now responding to more than 17,000 calls per year. Service areas, there are 2 areas of the city that fall outside of the department's target 4-minute travel response time, requiring new stations to improve response times. More medical calls, more than 66% of our calls are medical related, with the remaining responses to be fire alarms, fires, rescues, and public assistance. Again, aging fire stations, many of the city stations are outdated and have health and safety concerns and are unable to house modern fire engines, ambulances, and equipment. Personnel and training, providing prompt service when emergencies happen requires a well-trained and equipped firefighters and paramedics. And so, again, we do have this ballot measure, 3C, that'll be in this November's election. This flyer is the information that I can share with the group, and there's a QR code here at the bottom that people can utilize. That'll take you directly to the City of Westminster's website and has more information on ballot measure 3C.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So maybe we can shift gears just a little bit. If any questions come through, then we'll definitely get those up. But I'm curious about what advancements in technology or techniques that you're most excited about that could improve firefighting or rescue operations in the near future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess I'll take one from in the short term, the very short term here. So this is October's Fire Prevention Month, and we have many education and safety initiatives that we implement in October. But in about 2 weeks here, we will be implementing a new evacuation software that is really for our operations, but it has allowed us to map the city out into 143 manageable zones. And so if there was a wildfire or significant fire, such as the Marshall Fire, from the incident commander's vehicle on a tablet, we'll be able to select the affected communities and initiate an emergency notification right there from the vehicle. And so we can get notifications out to the community much faster than we could previously. Before, we'd have to get on the radio, relay geographical boundaries, north of 80th, south of 92nd, to our dispatch center, and they would have to manually draw that on a map and then issue the notification for that area. So that really expedites our process and how quickly we can notify the community of emergency incident. One of the biggest challenges in the fire service is cancer. Cancer is actually the leading cause of death in firefighters. And we have a very robust cancer prevention program, but there is new technology that we're able to incorporate now that's helping us do additional screening for our firefighters in a more proactive manner. We actually just started implementing a blood exam that can detect for 55 types of cancers. And I think it'll be next year we will be able to put all of our firefighters into or through that program, have them receive that blood test. So those are some current advancements. Down the road, I anticipate we use a thermal camera. It's a camera you can walk around and it'll point to directions in a home or a building where there's a fire, and it tells us where there is heat. We can see differences. If we're searching for individuals, we can see individuals who may be trapped in the fire with that technology. I've seen prototypes that actually has that almost as like a heads up type program in your SCBA mask, so that the mask itself would be able to have some sort of image that we could see temperatures. Again, we could see the outline of individuals of searching rather than carrying although they're smaller now than they used to be, but instead of carrying another camera, we'd have that all in a heads up type device. So I'm excited to see that technology continue to grow, and that's something I can see implemented here.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then how can the community better support the Westminster Fire Department? What are some things that residents can do to stay prepared for emergencies, in addition to signing up for the Lookout Alert?
Yeah. Thank you for the question. Yes, Lookout Alert, the first thing I'd point to, we have our emergency preparedness coordinator holds community education events that helps focus on certain types of prevention measures, such as having a go bag. If there's a fire and you need to evacuate home, you need to know what critical documents that you would want to have ready to leave the home with you. If you had to shelter in place due to an emergency, what kind of materials, medications, equipment you would need to be safe at your home. The other thing is that we have a Citizens Academy, and I would really encourage everyone to consider signing up for the Citizen Academy. We usually hold that at the beginning of the year, so we graduate in April, and you have a multi-week course with the fire department evening where you get to do a ride-along with the fire department. You learn CPR, first aid, you get to wear all of our gear, you get to rappel, you get to use all of the hose and equipment, and it really helps the fire department educate the community on what we do, and it builds a relationship with the community. And many of those past participants are now part of our C-Fire citizen group and helps us raise funds for certain sort of education or cancer prevention initiatives. So again, I think the Citizen Academy is the number one thing I point to.
Awesome, thank you. And then Dave wants to know, what's the most interesting or most memorable fire call that you've been involved with?
The most memorable. There are so many calls that you go on and they have just a great outcome, and you remember those calls the rest of your life. And just working as a member of a team is the thing I love most about the fire department. It's just working as a member of a team. But the thing that I would point to, and it's not necessarily a call, David, it's actually something that we did as a fire department when I served as a battalion chief on B shift. We hosted a child with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, a child who was experiencing brain cancer, a very critical cancer, and his desire was to be a firefighter. And so we partnered with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and he was a firefighter for the day with Westminster. We were able to take him to Dave & Buster's and have lunch with him, play the games with him, take him back to the station, and he got to use all of our tools, our equipment, and spend about 5 or 6 hours with us. And that's something that is very memorable to me, and I know that's something that I'll remember the rest of my life. But that's probably the most impactful.
Yeah, that's a great story. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Well, we have maybe a minute or two left. Do you have anything else that you'd like to share with us?
The thing I would like to share is just I greatly appreciate the opportunity to meet today and discuss Lookout Alert. That's something I was hoping to meet with the chamber on, and just having the opportunity to address questions from the chamber. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I will make sure that that's posted on our social media too, and just kind of get that out there a little further. And appreciate you coming on for the first time with us today, and we'll have you on again in the future.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for everybody who joined. Everyone have a great week.